You're looking at your garden wrong. You're staring down. Beds, rows, raised planters, everything flat on the ground. And every spring, you fill those beds, you tend them all summer, and you pull out every last plant when fall comes around. But here's what nobody's telling you. The most productive food systems in history didn't grow outward. They grew up. Ancient civilizations turned fences into food factories. They turned walls into orchards. They turned dead trees into vertical farms that produced hundreds of pounds of food using zero ground space. And almost nobody in America is doing it. Today I'm showing you 9 edible vines that will produce more food per square foot than anything else in your garden. Some of these you've never heard of. A couple of them are going to completely change the way you think about growing food at home. Vine number 2 produces up to 100 pounds of superfruit from a single plant, and it survives winters that would kill a peach tree. Vine number 5 was the number 1 survival food of Native Americans for thousands of years. It's a vine that grows protein-rich tubers underground while simultaneously fertilizing your soil. And vine number 8, its young shoots sell for $20 to $40 per pound at gourmet markets across Europe. You can grow them in your backyard for free. Before we dive in, if you're serious about building a garden that actually feeds your family, not just looks pretty on Instagram, hit that subscribe button right now. I drop content like this every week. Real plants, real numbers, real results. And here's my question for you. Look at your fence right now. Your back fence, your side fence, the one you stare at every single day. What's growing on it? Nothing? Drop a comment right now. Because by the end of this video, that fence is going to be the most productive piece of real estate on your entire property. Let's get into it. The perennial bean that feeds everything. Starting at number 9. And this one's going to change how you think about beans forever. You've been buying bush beans every single year. You plant them, you pick them, they die. Next spring you're back at the garden center buying more seed. That cycle never ends. But there's a bean that breaks that cycle entirely. The scarlet runner bean is a perennial vine that's been cultivated for over 2,000 years in the mountains of Central America. And here's what makes it completely different from every other bean you've ever grown. Every single part of this plant is edible. Every part. The flowers, bright red, absolutely gorgeous. They're edible in salads, and they pull in hummingbirds like magnets. The young pods cook like snap beans. The mature beans dry and store for months as high-protein food. And here's the part nobody talks about, the roots. After 2 or 3 years in the ground, scarlet runner. Bean develops massive starchy roots that can reach 10 pounds or more. In Central America, people dig those roots up and eat them like turnips. So you've got 4 separate food products from one plant: flowers, pods, dried beans, and starchy tubers. And it comes back from its roots year after year in zones 7 and warmer. Oh, and it fixes nitrogen. While it's feeding you 4 different ways, it's also fertilizing the soil for everything growing around it. Planted on any fence or trellis, full sun, it'll climb 10 to 15 feet in a single season and cover that ugly chain link fence with food and flowers at the same time. Hops, Humulus lupulus, the $40 per pound gourmet shoot you can grow for free, number 8. And this one's going to make you angry that nobody told you about it sooner. Everyone knows hops make beer. That's not news. But here's what almost nobody in America knows. Yet the young shoots of the hop vine, the little sprouts that come up in early spring, are one of the most expensive gourmet vegetables in the world. In Belgium, hop shoots are called jets au blanc. They're a delicacy. European gourmet markets sell them for $20 to $40 per pound. At specialty restaurants, they've been sold for over $1,000 per kilogram during peak season. And they taste like asparagus. Tender, bright, slightly nutty asparagus that you harvest for free every spring while you're still waiting for everything else in your garden to wake up. Here's how this works. Hops are a perennial vine, hardy in zones 3 through 8 every winter. The above-ground vine dies completely to the ground. Every spring, it rockets back, sending up dozens of tender shoots. You harvest those shoots when they're 6 to 8 inches tall. That's your gourmet spring vegetable. Sauté them in butter, toss them in pasta. Treat them exactly like asparagus. Then you let the rest of the vine grow, and it grows 15 to 25 feet in a single season. By midsummer, you've got a massive living privacy screen. By fall, you've got cones you can use for home brewing or dry for tea. Hop tea has documented sedative properties. It's been used for sleep disorders for centuries across Europe. So let me run through this again. Free gourmet vegetable shoots in spring. Living privacy screen all summer. Beer ingredients and sleep aid tea in fall. All from a vine that's nearly indestructible. Native to North America. And comes back stronger every year. One plant. 3 seasons of value. You're paying $5 for a bundle of asparagus at the store. This vine gives you that for free. Planted in full sun with a sturdy trellis. Cattle panels work perfectly. Just know that once it's established, you're not getting rid of it. And honestly, why would you want to chocolate vine? The exotic fruit nobody in America is growing. Number 7, and this is where things start getting weird, in a good way. There's a vine that produces fruit that tastes like a cross between watermelon and cantaloupe. It's been a gourmet food in Japan for centuries. The flowers smell like chocolate. And in America, people rip it out of their yards and throw it in the trash. This is the chocolate vine, Akebia quinata. It's an East Asian vine, hardy in zones 4 through 8. It grows 20 to 40 feet and produces these strange, beautiful, sausage-shaped purple fruits about 3 to 4 inches long. Crack one open and inside you'll find sweet, creamy pulp. In Japan, this fruit is a legitimate delicacy. The pulp is eaten fresh. The rind is stuffed with meat and fried as a savory dish. The young shoots are pickled. The leaves are brewed into tea. The vines themselves are woven into baskets and furniture. This isn't just a food plant. It's a complete multi-use system. Food, beverage, and material, all from one vine. The flowers bloom in early spring with this subtle chocolate and vanilla fragrance. Hence the name. The Royal Horticultural Society gave it an award of garden merit. It's virtually pest-free and disease-free. And here's the detail that matters for anyone with a shady yard. Chocolate vine tolerates deep shade. Most food plants won't produce anything without full sun. This vine grows and fruits in conditions where nearly everything else gives up. That north-facing fence you thought was useless, it just became productive. Now, I need to be straight with you. Chocolate vine can be aggressive. In some areas, it's considered invasive. Be a responsible grower. Yes, it is saturated. Keep it contained. Prune it. And don't let it escape into wild areas. But managed on a trellis or a fence, it's an extraordinary food plant that almost nobody in America is growing. Japan considers it gourmet food. America considers it a weed. That tells you everything about how we think about the plants around us. Schisandra chinensis, the only fruit on earth with 5 flavors. Number 6, and I need you to pay close attention to this one, because it might be the most unusual food plant on this entire list. There's a berry that tastes sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and pungent all at the same time. All 5 flavors in a single berry. Chinese emperors called it the fruit that prolongs life without aging. It's been recorded in Chinese medicine texts for over 2,000 years, going all the way back to the divine husbandman's classic in the 1st century BC. It's called Schisandra. Uwezi in Chinese, that literally translates to 5-flavor fruit, and it grows on a vine in your backyard. Schisandra chinensis is a perennial woody vine, hardy all the way down to zone 3. That's negative 35 degrees Fahrenheit. This vine doesn't just survive cold, it thrives in it. It grows 20 to 30 feet and starts producing clusters of bright red berries within 2 to 3 years of planting. A mature vine yields 15 to 20 pounds of berries per season, according to nursery data. You can eat them fresh, dry them for tea, make juice, tinctures, or wine. In Korea, there's a traditional cold drink made from these berries called omija cha that's still popular today. 5 flavors in one sip. But here's where Schisandra becomes genuinely extraordinary. It produces food and shade, real shade, not dappled sun, not morning sun with afternoon shade, actual shade. This is one of the very few fruiting vines on the planet that thrives in partial to full shade conditions. Every other food vine I'm showing you today needs full sun. Schisandra produces food and medicine in the shadiest corner of your yard, the corner you wrote off, the spot behind the garage, the north side of your house. That space just became valuable. And the medicinal value is not folklore. Modern research published in peer-reviewed journals validates the adaptogenic properties, liver protective effects, and anti-inflammatory compounds the Russian military documented giving Schisandra to soldiers and pilots during World War II for endurance and focus. The berries contain unique compounds called schisandrins that are being actively studied for cognitive function and stress response. So you've got a food plant, a medicinal plant, and a shade-tolerant vine all in one. Planted in a spot nothing else will grow. Give it something to climb. And in 2 to 3 years, you'll be harvesting one of the most unique berries on Earth from a space you thought was worthless. American groundnut, Apios americana, the native protein vine that fed America before America existed. Number 5, Nyaikson. And I'm going to spend a little extra time on this one because the story behind it is one of the most important and most forgotten stories in American food history. There's a vine that produces protein-rich tubers underground, edible beans above ground, fixes nitrogen in your soil, and was the survival food that kept the Pilgrims alive during their first winters in America. You've never heard of it. This is the American groundnut, Apios americana, native to the entire eastern half of North America, from Canada to Florida, from the Dakotas to the coast, zones 3 through 9. Your ancestors walked past these vines every day. For thousands of years, Native Americans didn't just forage groundnuts, they cultivated them. They deliberately transplanted tubers closer to their settlements. Managing stands of this vine as an intentional food crop, this wasn't gathering, this was agriculture. Long before Europeans ever set foot on this continent, when the first English settlers arrived and faced starvation, it was groundnut tubers, shared by the indigenous people, that kept them alive. That's documented history. The vine that saved the earliest Europeans in America is now a plant almost no American has ever heard of. And the nutritional profile explains exactly why it was so critical. Groundnut tubers contain 3 times the protein of potatoes. 3 times. According to NC State Extension, we're talking roughly 17% protein by dry weight compared to about 2% for a regular potato. They're rich in complex carbohydrates and minerals. They taste like a nutty, slightly sweet potato. You can roast them, boil them, fry them, mash them, or dry them into flour. But it gets better. Groundnut is a legme. It's in the bean family, which means it fixes nitrogen. While it's producing food underground, it's fertilizing your soil. You are literally growing protein and building soil fertility with the same plant. The vine grows 8 to 15 feet. Produces beautiful cinnamon-scented purple flowers that attract pollinators, and also produces edible bean pods. That's 3 food products, tubers, beans, and flowers, plus soil improvement, from one vine. Here's the part that should make you frustrated. Japan is currently the only country in the world that commercially farms the American groundnut. They call it America Hodoimo. They've recognized its nutritional value and developed it as a crop. Meanwhile, in the country it's actually native to, we forgot it exists. Louisiana State University has developed improved cultivars with larger tubers. Iowa State University maintains the largest germplasm collection for active domestication research. The science is there. The breeding work is happening. But you won't find groundnut at your local garden center. Plant it in moist, well-drained soil with something to climb. Sun to partial shade. Leave some tubers in the ground each fall. And the patch expands on its own every year. Best yields come after 2 to 3 years, once the root system is established. One note, a percentage of people, somewhere between 9 and 25%, can experience digestive sensitivity with groundnut. Start with small portions your first time. Never eat them raw. Cook them thoroughly, but for the vast majority of people, these are safe, delicious, and extraordinarily nutritious. The vine that fed America before America had a name, and nobody's growing it. Okay, if you're watching this and you're realizing that there's an entire category of food-producing plants you've been completely ignoring, drop a leaf emoji in the comments right now. I want to see how many of you are rethinking what your fence and your trellis can actually do for you. And here's the thing. The top 4 vines on this list are even more productive. We're talking 50 to 100 pounds per vine. We're talking vines that live longer than you do. Vines that your great-grandchildren can harvest from. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. You don't want to miss what's coming. Let's keep going. Maypop, Passiflora incarnata. Tropical fruit from a plant that survives negative 25 degrees. Number 4, and this one is going to blow your mind. If you think passion fruit is a tropical-only crop, you think passion fruit only grows in Hawaii, or Costa Rica, or the tropics. You're wrong. There's a species of passion fruit native to the eastern United States. Native, as in, it was already here long before anyone planted it. Its roots survive being frozen to negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Suck. And it produces the same sweet, exotic, tropical flavored fruit. You're paying $6 a pop for it at Whole Foods. This is the Maypop, Passiflora incarnata, and it's been growing wild across the American Southeast for thousands of years. The Cherokee called it Waga, the Ocoee River in Tennessee. Ocoee literally translates to the place where the maypops grow. That's how deeply embedded this plant is in the landscape. This isn't something exotic. This is something we forgot. Native Americans used maypop as food and medicine for millennia. The fruit is egg-sized, with a sweet, tart tropical pulp, described as a blend of pineapple, lemon, caramel, and banana. You eat it fresh. Scoop it straight out of the skin. You make juice, jam, or syrup from it. The flavor is genuine passion fruit, not a watered-down version. The real thing. And the flowers. If you've never seen a passion flower up close, you need to 3-inch lavender and purple blooms that look like they were designed by an artist having the best day of their life. They're among the most visually stunning flowers in North America, and they attract butterflies like nothing else in your garden. Gulf fritillary butterflies specifically depend on this plant. But here's the survival angle. Maypop is a perennial vine that grows 15 to 20 feet in a single season. Come fall, the first hard frost kills the above-ground vine. But the roots are fine, sitting underground, through the coldest winter you can throw at them. And in May, the plant pops back out of the ground. That's literally why it's called Maypop, and does the whole thing over again, zones 5 through 9. That covers a massive chunk of the country. The nutritional profile is impressive too. High in vitamin A, vitamin C, potassium, and fiber, according to Alabama Cooperative Extension data, Sunnystorm. And the leaves? Passion flower leaf tea has been used as a natural sleep aid and anxiety remedy for centuries. The German Commission E, which evaluates herbal medicines, has officially approved passion flower extract for nervousness and insomnia. So you've got food and medicine from the same vine. It can be aggressive. Maypop spreads via underground rhizomes, and in good conditions it will colonize. Mow around the edges to control spread, or plant it in an area where you don't mind it taking over. Americans spend $6 for a single imported passion fruit. Meanwhile, the native version is growing in ditches and along fence rows across the entire southeastern United States. Nobody's picking it. Full sun for best fruit production. Any soil, give it a fence or trellis. It can produce fruit in its first year, self-fertile, though having multiple plants improves yield. This vine is almost offensively easy to grow for how exotic the fruit tastes. Muscadine grape, Vitis rotundifolia, the grape that laughs at every disease that kills other grapes. Number 3, and if you live anywhere in the southeastern United States, this one is going to fundamentally change what you plant next season. Icodmycois, regular grapevines, the European ones, the varieties you see in California vineyards, They need constant spraying to survive in the American South. Pierce's disease destroys them. Black rot destroys them. Downy mildew, powdery mildew, fungal infections. Growing European grapes in humid southern climates is a full-time chemical warfare operation. But there's a grape native to this country that hasn't been sprayed in 400 years, and it produces 5 to 7 times more fruit per vine than those European imports. This is the muscadine grape, Vitis rotundifolia, native to the southeastern United States, zones 7 through 10, and the production numbers are staggering. Oklahoma State University reports that muscadine vines average 35 pounds of fruit per vine, with many vines exceeding 60 pounds. Compare that to 8 pounds per vine for standard bunch grapes. That's not a small difference. That's a different category of production entirely. Muscadines are larger than regular grapes, about the size of a quarter, sometimes bigger. Thick skin, intensely sweet flesh, with a flavor that's completely unique. Not like a Concord grape, not like a table grape, something wilder, deeper, more complex. The thick skin is what gives them natural disease resistance. And it's also packed with some of the highest concentrations of antioxidants found in any fruit. Resveratrol and ellagic acid, both actively studied for cardiovascular and anti-cancer benefits. Native Americans domesticated muscadines over 400 years before the Europeans ever arrived. The Scuppernong, one of the most famous muscadine varieties, was one of the first cultivated grapes in North America. Southern food culture is built around this grape. Muscadine wine, muscadine jelly, muscadine hull pies. There are families in Georgia, North Carolina, and Mississippi who've been making muscadine wine from the same vines their grandparents planted, and those vines live a long time. Documented muscadine vines have been productive for over 200 years. 200 years of fruit from a vine you plant once on a single wire trellis. Can be grown organically with little to no spraying. 2 vines, that's it. 2 vines can provide more fresh grapes than any family can eat, according to Oklahoma State Extension. Fresh eating, wine, jelly, juice, vinegar, all from a native vine that asks for almost nothing. Plant in full sun, single wire trellis at about 5 to 6 feet high. Space your vines 20 feet apart and let them run. Most muscadines need a pollinator vine, so check whether your variety is self-fertile or needs a partner. Clemson Extension and NC State Extension both publish excellent variety guides for your specific state. If you live in zones 7 through 10 and you don't have muscadine vines, you're leaving the easiest, most productive fruit you could possibly grow on the table. Hardy kiwi, Actinidia arguta. 100 pounds of superfruit from one vine in zone 4, number 2. And when I tell you this number, you're going to think I made it up. A single hardy kiwi vine can produce 50 to 100 pounds of fruit per year. That's not my claims. That's Penn State Extension, Oregon State Extension, or Cornell University. Multiple land-grant universities documenting the same thing. 50 to 100 pounds from one vine. And this vine doesn't grow in the tropics. It's hardy in zones 4 through 9. It survives negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Some varieties, Actinidia colomicta, the Arctic kiwi, as much as survive negative 40 to negative 49 degrees Fahrenheit. University of Minnesota has researched such these. There is essentially no American winter too cold for at least one type of hardy kiwi. Now, forget what you know about fuzzy kiwis from the grocery store. Hardy kiwis are completely different. They're the size of a large grape. Smooth skin, no fuzz. You eat them whole, no peeling needed. You pop them in your mouth like candy. And the flavor, Penn State describes it as a complex blend of pineapple, strawberry, banana, mint, and pear. The sugar content when vine ripened reaches 18 to 25%. That's sweeter than most store-bought fuzzy kiwis, which are typically picked unripe and shipped thousands of miles from New Zealand. The vitamin C content is extraordinary. The Ohio State Extension reports that Actinidia colomicta fruit contains about 1% of its fresh weight as vitamin C, That's a remarkable concentration for any fruit. Hardy kiwi was first cultivated in Japan in the 12th century, originally for ornamental use, not food. Commercial production is now growing in Oregon, Washington, Pennsylvania, and New Zealand. This is an emerging crop with serious commercial potential, and you can grow it before anyone around you even knows what it is. Vines start bearing in 3 to 5 years and remain productive for decades with proper management. The fruit stores 3 to 4 months refrigerated and freezes beautifully. Here's the critical detail. Most hardy kiwi varieties need both a male and female vine for pollination. One male vine can pollinate 6 to 8 females. The self-fertile variety Issai exists, but it produces smaller fruit and lower yields. For maximum production, get a named female variety like Ananasnaya, also called Anna, which is the most tested and recommended cultivar, and pair it with a male pollinator. And here's the thing you absolutely must get right. Hardy kiwi vines get heavy, seriously heavy. When a vine is loaded with 100 pounds of fruit plus the weight of all that foliage and wood, it will destroy a flimsy trellis. As a Christum, you need a heavy-duty structure, T-bar posts, a pergola, or a permanent arbor built from substantial lumber. This is not a tomato cage situation. Build the trellis like it's going to hold a small car, because at full production, it's holding hundreds of pounds. Annual pruning is essential. You'll remove up to 70% of the previous year's growth, similar to grape pruning, but the payoff is 100 pounds of superfruit from one vine growing on a trellis that takes up maybe 15 feet of fence line. Try getting that kind of production from any other single plant in your garden. You're buying fuzzy kiwis shipped from New Zealand for $1 each. One vine in your backyard produces 100 pounds of sweeter, more nutritious fruit, and it survives winters that kill a peach tree. Table grape, Vitis labrusca and hybrids. The 5,000-year food security system hiding on your fence. Number 1. And I know exactly what you're thinking. Grapes? Really? That's number 1? I just showed you a vine that produces 100 pounds of kiwi. I showed you native passion fruit, 5 flavor berries, protein tubers. And you're going to tell me the common grape is number 1? Yes. Hear me out. Because when you see the actual lifetime math, and I mean the real, honest math, you're going to understand why every ancient civilization on Earth that had access to grapevines built their entire food security system around this single plant. This isn't romantic. This is arithmetic. A cold, hardy grapevine. Singeg. Concord. Nagra. Mars. Reliance. Dozens of proven varieties. Thrives in zones 4 through 8. It produces 15 to 25 pounds of fruit per year once mature. And it lives for 50 to 100 years. Some documented vines are over 200 years old and still producing, let me run the numbers. One grapevine, 20 pounds per year on average, over 50 years. That's 1,000 pounds of fruit from one vine on a fence. But here's why grapes beat everything else on this list for the number 1 spot. It's not the raw yield. The hardy kiwi produces more per year. It's the versatility. No other vine on earth gives you this many options for what you do with the harvest. Fresh eating. That's obvious. Raisins. Dried grapes store for over a year. 1,300 calories per pound. Shelf-stable trail food and survival food for millennia. Juice. Can it. Freeze it. Drink it fresh. Jelly and jam. The classic preservation method. Vinegar. Fermented grape vinegar stores indefinitely and was used as a preservative, medicine, and cleaning agent for thousands of years. Wine. And this is the one that puts grapes in a category by themselves. Wine is the only fruit preservation method in human history that actually improves with time. Every other method of preserving fruit, drying, canning, freezing, jamming, the product degrades over time. Wine gets better, and it stores indefinitely. That's not trivial. That's the reason grapevines spread across every civilization that encountered them. The leaves are edible. Grape leaf dolmas have been eaten across the Mediterranean and Middle East for thousands of years. Young grape leaves contain more protein per weight than many leafy greens. That's food from the vine before the fruit even develops. The vine itself provides shade in summer and loses its leaves in winter. Natural climate control for any outdoor space. A grape arbor over a patio gives you food production and comfortable outdoor living space at the same time. Grapes were among the first fruits domesticated by humans, roughly 6,000 to 8,000 years ago. They're mentioned over 500 times in the Bible, more than any other plant. During Prohibition in the 1920s, grape growers legally sold concentrated grape juice blocks called grape bricks, with printed instructions on exactly how not to make wine. Haute acte. The demand for this plant was so powerful that an entire constitutional amendment couldn't stop people from using it. Now, let me give you the number that matters most. One Concord grapevine planted this spring on your back fence. In 3 years, it starts producing. By year 5, you're getting 15 to 20 pounds per year. Over the next 50 years, that single vine produces between 750 and 1,000 pounds of fruit. Convert that to raisins. That's 250 to 330 pounds of shelf-stable, calorie-dense food. Convert it to wine. That's roughly 100 to 150 bottles over its lifetime. The total caloric output from one vine on a fence, somewhere between 300,000 and 500,000 calories. Your great-grandchildren can harvest from a vine you plant this year. Every other vine on this list is extraordinary at one thing. Hardy kiwi wins on raw yield. Muscadine wins on disease resistance. Groundnut wins on protein. Schisandra wins on medicinal value. But the common grape? The grape wins on everything combined. Fresh fruit, dried fruit, wine, juice, jelly, vinegar, edible leaves, shade, beauty, and a lifespan longer than yours. That's why civilizations were built around it. And that's why it's number one. All right, let's step back and look at the big picture. Because when you combine these 9 vines strategically, you don't just have a garden, you have a self-sustaining vertical food production system that works from early spring through late fall, with almost no ground space required. Here's what your harvest calendar looks like. Hop shoots ripen first in early spring, weeks before anything else is ready. Scarlet runner bean flowers and chocolate vine fruits come next in early summer. Maypop passion fruit ripens in mid to late summer. Grapes, hardy kiwi, and muscadines follow from late summer through fall. Schisandra berries and groundnut tubers are ready in fall. Summer. And dried grapes, raisins, wine, and stored tubers carry you through winter. That's 8 to 9 months of continuous food production. From vines growing on your fences, your pergola, and your trellis. Using 0 garden beds. Let me give you 3 bonus strategies that take this from good to incredible. Bonus number 1, the vertical fence food forest. Layer your vines by height. Hardy kiwi and hops on a tall trellis or arbor. Those need 15 to 25 feet of climbing height. Grapes on mid-height wire at 5 to 6 feet. Groundnut on the lower portion of a fence, maybe 8 to 10 feet. 3 food crops from one fence line. Using 3 different layers of vertical space. That's not gardening. That's food forest design applied to a suburban backyard. Bonus number 2, the dollar value calculation. Hardy kiwi, 100 pounds at $4 per pound retail. That's $400 of fruit per year from one vine. Muscadine, 50 pounds at $3 per pound, $150. Hop shoots at $20 to $40 per pound. Schisandra dried berries at $25 per pound at health food stores. Do the math. 9 well-chosen vines could produce $1,000 to $2,000 worth of food per year from your fence. Bonus number 3, preserved for year-round food security. Every fruit and product on this list can be preserved for off-season use. Dry your grapes into raisins. Freeze your kiwi berries and muscadines. Make wine and vinegar. Dry Schisandra berries for winter tea. Store groundnut tubers in a root cellar, Sansenia. Well-planned vine garden doesn't just feed you in summer. It feeds you all 12 months if you preserve intelligently. That's true food independence from a vertical footprint. Here's what I want you to do right now. 3 things. First, pick 3 vines from this list. Just 3. The 3 that make the most sense for your climate zone, your available space, and what your family will actually eat. Don't try to do all 9 at once. Start with 3. Second, look at your property with new eyes. Every fence, every wall, every ugly trellis, every dead tree, that's not wasted space anymore. That's food production waiting to happen. The average American property has 200 to 400 linear feet of fence. If even 50 feet of that fence was producing food, you'd have more fresh fruit than you could eat. Third, share this video with someone who keeps staring at their garden beds, wondering why they never grow enough food. The answer isn't more beds. The answer is thinking vertically. Here's the truth. Most gardeners never figure out. We've been trained to think about food production as a flat, horizontal, the ground level activity. Beds and rows and plots. But the most productive food systems in history, the ones that fed civilizations for thousands of years, grew upward. They used vertical space, walls, trellises, arbors, living structures. Your fence is the most underused piece of real estate on your property. It's just sitting there, doing nothing. Turn it into a food system that your grandchildren can harvest from. And you've done something that garden beds can never do. You've built something that lasts beyond your lifetime. If this changed how you think about growing food, subscribe to this channel. Next week, I'm covering water systems that work when the grid doesn't. How to capture, store, and distribute water to all of these vines and food systems without relying on a municipal supply. You'll want to see that. Drop a comment telling me which 3 vines you're starting with this season. I read every single comment. Now go look at your fence. It's been waiting for you.